And good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unturned Pages. I am all by my lonesome today, unfortunately. Jenny is in Indiana right now, investigating Indiana State Sanatorium. I hope she's having a fantastic time. This is her third investigation over 3 days. She's done, I believe, Ashmore Estates, um, the Rock Island Roadhouse YMCA. I believe I said that correctly. And also tonight at ISS and Billy Creek Village. Hey, Damien, thank you for joining us again. Really appreciate it. So I'm going to jump right into it. We got a lot of stuff to cover. I know I've had this guest on my show, Compass Curiosities. He is an excellent guest. He has so much knowledge, and he's such a great guy. Hey, Icy, how you doing? Thank you for coming out. So without further ado, Mr. Nate Elwell.
Russ, how are you doing, brother?
Doing well, sir. Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, and I got to tell you, man, you've reached the first out of all the podcasts that I've been. I know I was on Compass of Curiosities. Now I'm on Unturned Pages. You will be the first person to ever make my podcast wall by having me on two different podcasts within a month.
That's hey. I mean, you know what? I'll take the accolades where I can get them.
And I want to say thank you, to all your sponsors and Get Haunted, as well as, to you for having me back on a new podcast. And I'm looking forward to this conversation.
No, I much appreciate it. Hi, Lisa Riddle, Cremo. Thank you for coming out. New York, representing the house here. Thank you so much. And if anybody is listening out there right now, please go to our Facebook pages, whether it be Compass Curiosities or Unturned Pages or Get Haunted. Do not go to our personal pages because we do not see the comments in the comment section. So we got to throw that one out there. So Nate, for the listeners, because we do have a difference in listeners, even though the show's only a day apart from Compass and Unturned Pages. Give us a little bit of background on yourself.
So background on me, I've got 17 years now as of July 6th in the paranormal field. I have been investigating since July of 2006. So it's been a long time. And basically, I use my skills to help people, mainly residential cases. But I also have a public platform on TikTok where I use my skills to debunk paranormal videos that are put out on this platform. I don't use it to call anybody out. I don't use it to say, hey, people are blatantly faking this videos, because sometimes I come across videos that people aren't faking. They just don't know what they're looking for. Yep. And so I use that expertise to kind of educate people and give them alternative explanations as to what could be going on in said videos.
Fantastic. And I know you have a pretty decent following on TikTok. Excuse me. Go ahead and plug your TikTok right now so everybody can look you up. And, you kind of taken a little hiatus from doing videos, but I know you and I have talked and you're getting ready back to get into it.
I am, and I'm fully ready to get back into it. I've got 2 new breakdowns in the work right now. So hopefully those will be out by the end of next week. We just kind of have to play it by ear and see how it goes. But if anyone wants to go and follow me on TikTok, my TikTok handle is @staticvoices. I do have merch that's going to be coming available here soon. So hopefully that will go well, but we'll see. But if you want to go and follow me on TikTok, it's @staticvoices.
Oh, right. That is absolutely awesome. I'm just plugging you in the in there so everybody that didn't catch it can actually see it. So, oh, there you go. You get a question already right off the bat. Damien, one of our greatest listeners, he was listening to the show for Compass when you were on. Why did you first start? What was your defining moment of wanting to get into this?
So my defining moment for me wanting to get into the paranormal took place in July, so May of 2006. I was living with my ex-wife in a small trailer in a small town called Clayhatchee, Alabama. And we were having issues as far as I used to work night shift. So I would go to work at 5 a.m. and I would get home at about 3 p.m. rough or reverse that. 5 p.m., get home at 3 a.m.
Yep.
But I would come home and I would see shadows moving on the windows. Like no one should have been awake. I would go inside. The house would be dark, except for the kitchen, because that was the only thing I requested of my ex-wife. Did you leave the kitchen light on? Because I'm clumsy. I'm going to trip over shit. So please.
Especially after working that long of a shift, coming home. Yep.
And So leave the light on for me so I could see what I was doing. And I would see shadows moving in the bay window of the kitchen. So I want to say it was the 26th of the month before July. I was in bed and I encountered a bout of what's known as sleep paralysis. And if anyone has ever encountered that, it is one of the most terrifying things that you will ever encounter. And you wake up, you can't move. It's almost like you can't breathe. And I felt this pressure around my neck like I was being choked.
Mm-hmm.
After what seemed like 2 hours, but let's be honest, if you've ever experienced it, it was probably more like maybe 20 or 30 seconds.
Yep.
I shook it off, and when I sat up, there was a dark silhouette standing at the foot of the bed, and it drifted backwards into the hallway. And when it did this and it dissipated, the light bulb in the hallway got extremely bright and it shattered.
Oh, wow. So an energy overload.
Almost like an energy overload. Now, typically, it would be an opposite effect. What you would see is like, maybe little fluctuations of light.
Yeah. A little dim,
Yep. I have never before or never since experienced anything like that. And the day after, I went to the local Barnes and Nobles and I bought my first book, which was called Ghosts by Dr. Hans Halser.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I started researching the paranormal. And 3 weeks later, I bought my first piece of equipment and I've never looked back.
We need to get you the book called Spirit Communication for Dummies. I actually own the book, surprisingly. There's actually some good information in it.
I'm down because let me tell you, like I own some books that most people may find obscure. I own some books that you can't find anymore. So in 1978, the University of California offered a PhD in parapsychology. It was only offered.
They were not the only one. Duke University did as well, because that is where the Rhine Institute is and is actually still functioning to this day.
Yep. So they only offered it, as far as I know of, for like 1 or 2 years. I have all 4 curriculum books for it. It took me a while to find them, but once I found them, I was like, I don't care the price. They're mine. They're going in my paranormal library, and I have read every book in my paranormal library. And I love Dr. Hans Halser's work. I love Jeff Belanger's work. Like, they're all great freaking people.
I give a quick shout out here, Kimberly Ann. She's part of the Paranormal Peaches. If you come to Gettysburg, brother, you'll meet the Peaches at Gettysburg. They're absolutely amazing. I'm actually having her and the founder of Dana's Pink Wishes, which is one of the charities we're promoting at the Bash.
Nice.
So, hi, Kimberly. Jenny Davis just peeked in from ISS. And Damien just made a comment saying you should rename the K2 meter to a Pokemon because once you buy one, you got to get them all. Not the K2 so much.
Not the K2 so much.
I would refer to that as voice recorders because every voice recorder works different.
Exactly. And that's why I have 5 different brands that I bring.
Well, see, my bucket list recorder is actually a Tascam. I want to get myself a Tascam.
I have a Tascam.
And how is your experience with it?
I unfortunately have not been able to use it yet because I recently bought it. And I had a friend of mine who was like, well, I'm having issues with the upstairs neighbor. So I loaned it to him and he has not yet returned it.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I sent him a message and I told him, look, you're either going to pay me $300 or you're going to return my voice recorder. Which do you want?
Exactly. Right. Right. Well, I know if Jenny's still listening, don't forget, Jenny, you're supposed to bring me oh God, what's the piece of equipment? Because I wanted to play around with one. It's the it's the one that has the shows the stick figures.
Oh, an SLS.
An SLS, yeah. Well, she just won a brand new one. She actually won an SLX. And she has an SLS. And I was like, hey, let me borrow the one that you have because you're not going to use 2 SLSs during an investigation.
Right.
So let me borrow one and, I'll get it back to you. So hopefully she remembers that on Gettysburg when she comes down.
I can tell you it took me many months of looking to find one that was in decent condition, but I finally found an Xbox Connect. And I'm going to be building my own SLS here within the next few months.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
I know how it's done, and I'm looking forward to it.
Damien just asked, what was your what is your top 5 EV recorders if you don't have a DR60? Because you know the DR60 is like the holy grail of recorders.
The DR60 is shit. It is not the holy grail of anything. What you have is a bunch of background noise that is caused by the internal mechanisms of the machine. The DR60 is bullshit. I'm sorry, y'all can take that for what you want. You can hate me for my comment. It is what it is.
There are a lot of people out there that call it the holy grail of auto recorders, and only like I know a gentleman that has like 10 of them.
Yeah, you know what?
And you can't touch one these days under $800.
$800 easy is like
easy.
You're going at a very like beat up one. Okay.
Yep.
You're spending way too much. Damien, if you're looking for a good quality voice recorder that you think you might be able to utilize, let me tell you, I have an RCA recorder that I bought for $35 at Walmart. And that voice recorder is my go-to. It has been for the last 9 years. I love this voice recorder. The DR60 is a piece of junk. I'm sorry, you can call it for what it is. But
I'm going to get hate mail on the show now.
You know what? Tell them to send the hate mail to me, because I'll gladly respond and explain my reasoning. But
you know what? You like your RCA. I prefer my recorder to my recorder of preference is Olympus.
Yes, I was going to go with Olympus next. You asked me my top 5, so I got an RCA. I love my RCA. I do have an Olympus. I also have a Sony. I have 2 different Sony voice recorders, actually, and I love the Sony recorders, but I like the one that's got the built-in like slide-out USB port, so you can plug it straight into your computer without having to hook up anything else. I love that. 4 and 5. I can't wait to use my new one that I got, the Tascom. I can't wait for that. But I also, believe it or not, I love doing voice recordings on my phone.
Okay, that's fair.
Because your phone's microphone is very sensitive.
Yes.
So that would be my number 5 pick for a voice recorder. Use your phone. If you can't afford a voice recorder, use your phone.
See, my 2 I would have to like that I want to play around with is a Tascam and a Zoom. I want to play around with both of those.
Zooms are nice.
So I mean they're.
Oh yeah, and not you know, and people like me and you, Russ, that are working folk, like we can't afford to go out and drop like $500 on a voice recorder, you know?
No.
So we got to make do with what we can have. And let me tell you, here's the thing, and this is why I'm so big on my RCA recorder. Is it the best recorder in the world as far as price? No. But if you have the correct sound editing software, the voice recorder is amazing. I use a free software. I use WavePad.
Use WavePad. I've used Audacity, and I've used there's another one I've used before, but I've gotten some good results with those programs.
Absolutely. So Audacity is very decent. I like WavePad, but I also am working on developing a new program myself that has not been released yet that I'm calling Gram 50. When I release this, it's going to break down your voice recordings into the human vocal range. So you can actually take the decibels, and if you research what the decibels are for the normal human vocal range, if you have anything that falls over or under that as far as a voice, then you know you possibly have something paranormal.
Interesting.
I've been working on that for about a year.
Well, Damien just said it in the chat room here that he uses Anabat, which is for bat calls low frequency, but he is a bat ecologist. So but these programs can be implemented to several different uses.
Oh, absolutely. Every program can be utilized for various objects or various objectives, I guess you could say. And I could be honest with you, I've never met someone who studies just bats. My son would love him. My son loves animals. My son loves bats.
Oh, we got the mom of the Get Haunted in here. Sarah Jane's in the room. Thank you for popping by, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah.
you doing?
It ain't his first one. If you hear the noise in the background, I'm sorry. I can't do much about it, bro.
No, you're fine. You're fine as long as we're not going on a tirade or anything.
I don't know what the hell's going on.
Sounds like whoever it is playing a video game.
No, it's my brother. He was yelling at my mother, I think.
Oh, God. All right,
Look,
then.
I'm in the podcast. Oh, nice. Looks good. I like it.
Is he trying to ban you to some other dimension right now or something? Or...
Most likely. Sorry.
Sarah just said hi to you, bud. So Christy Parrish, I just had her on. I did a lecture for her teen center that she works with 2 weeks ago, which I'm amazed. Infrasound. Have you worked with that?
So I have not worked with infrasound, but I am very familiar with it. Do I think that it's possible that can cause hallucinations and such? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you have anything that is an infrasound, right, it's going to cause your eyes to vibrate. And when your eyes vibrate, you're going to see things that aren't there. So I've never experienced or experimented with it, but I would be more than willing to do so.
Philip, thank you for joining us, Philip. He says use spectrograph on Audacity to see the hertz. If it's below 20, it's not a living person. You'd actually see the EVP analysis video on his page, Ghost Education 101.
Okay, he's 100% correct on that.
Yep.
100%. No arguments.
That's the one thing that I actually like to focus on myself is audio, because that's one thing. Audio and video is something that I've always been very interested in. See, I'm your very minimalistic investigator. I don't like all the flashy toys and this, that, everything else, because you miss so much.
I'm not a fan of the flashy lights and the flashy gadgets. Don't get it twisted. I do own a few, but they're not my go-to. Like, my go-to is the audio and the video. Why? Because it's raw. It's there. And there's so many different variables that come into play when it comes to these other gadgets that have all the bells and whistles and the lights and sounds. And you got the REM pods that a walkie-talkie can set off from 15 feet away. There's so many different variables that I just don't trust the equipment.
True. Very true. Damien just said Slinky at the top of the stairs never gets old.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
He's going back to the old school days of what I used to do. I used to use baby powder string with bells on the door handle, things like that. So,
I actually have a giant Slinky that I set at the top of every staircase. So.
And you would shit yourself if you were sitting there. You just hear thunk, 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 thunk.
I don't know if I'll get myself, but I damn sure be like, the fuck just happened?
Yep, pretty much. You're like, something just happened here, and it's not right.
It's not right. That shouldn't happen. But yeah, I actually do own a Slinky. Like I said, I do have some stuff that has bells and whistles. And I can tell you there is one device that I own that has the bells and whistles. And I have put this thing to the test. Like, I have put this thing through the gambit, and I trust it. This is my crystal pod.
Oh, Lauren Hellikinson?
That is made by Lauren Hellikinson.
Yep. Lovely woman. I had her on the show a couple weeks ago.
Let me tell you, I have never in my life seen a device that is supposed to be detected like a REM pod, where I can put a like a Sharpie up to the antenna and it does not go off. But if I put my hand up to it, it will. So I don't really know how to explain that, because in theory, if my hand is attached to the Sharpie, I should be in a way connecting energy to said Sharpie, right?
True.
As a ground, in a way.
Yep.
But I could take a Sharpie, and I don't have one on me on hand. If I did, I would demonstrate. But I could put it up to the antenna, and it does nothing. Like, I can literally hit the antenna with the Sharpie, and it does nothing. But as soon as I put my hand up to it, it goes off.
Awesome. That I know she does some really great work, and I know I believe she just released a new piece of equipment she's working on.
Yep. She recently released one that can detect what was it? Static energy.
Okay.
And let me tell you guys, if anyone out there watching this podcast wants a device that I would fully trust, Crystal Pod by Lauren Hellikinson, they're amazing. And I'm not one for the bells and whistles.
Yeah. Damien mentioned in the comment about like smoke bombs are good. You know, that could be used for locations that, you know, that the owner very well of, that doesn't mind clouding up their hallways with smoke.
Right.
You know, I've seen it done a few times where people have brought like fog machines in.
I was gonna say an ulterior for that would be a fog machine.
Yes. But the smoke bomb kind of does the same thing that a laser grid would do.
Yes, in a way.
In a way, yes. So, I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, I actually started reading your book, and, you know, you have not published it yet, but so far I'm pretty decently into it. And it's opened my eyes to a lot of different equipment that, you know, are kind of like that I've always thought in my time as an investigator got me excited about things. And then I'm reading this and I'm like thinking back going, well, shit, maybe that wasn't the cause of it.
Well, I appreciate
You know,
and that's the whole point of the book. You know, it's to make people look at things from a different perspective. Same as my TikTok videos. It's not that I'm trying to call anybody out saying their product is fake. I'm just trying to offer alternative explanation for what can be going on, and that's what I do.
that's honestly, I think that's what we need in the field, is because people are letting honestly too much go under the bridge.
Oh,
And,
they do.
excuse me, taking things for face value.
No,
And you know, once he publishes the Damien, I'm sure he will have no problem doing a chance to do a signed copy for you.
I would have no issue with it whatsoever. I just
I
gotta
mean,
find. I just have
you'd
to
be.
find. Go
I
ahead.
sent you the link.
I just have to find a publisher to take it on. That's the main thing, is like no publisher wants to take this on. Every publisher I've contacted has said this goes outside of our realm because this goes against what everyone says about the paranormal.
I sent you the link for a publisher the last time you were on my show.
I did. And you need to resend me that link because I might have deleted it on accident.
Oh, good Lord. What am I going to do?
Don't do good Lord me.
No, but this company is great. Jenny Davis knows the person very, very well. You know, and I've read several books that have been through this publisher, and they've been absolutely fantastic. And if anybody would do it, I believe they would. So that's something. If you're ready to make that next step.
Dude, I'm ready to make the next step because I want to get this information out there. I think this information is very necessary for the people of the paranormal community to read, so it maybe opens their eyes to a different aspect of tooling that they can actually use.
And see, look at that. You already have an international reader.
And you know
Damien
what?
over in Scotland, he'll read it.
Damien, zero qualms. You will get a signed copy as soon as it's published. And I will cover the shipping, all of that. You just let me know your address and I'll get it to you.
That's a hell of a guy right there. So what would be like if you were going on an investigation, you had to choose 5 pieces of equipment, what would you bring? I already know 3. I already know 3 of the answers you're going to give me.
You already know 3. Voice recorder.
Yep.
Obvious. I'm going to bring with me my crystal pod.
Yep.
That's going to be my number 2. My number 3, I would say my motion sensor music box. I like my motion sensor music box. Do I believe it's completely accurate? No. But let's be honest. If I'm not in a room and that thing goes off, there's something to question.
Yes.
Number 4 would be some form of IR camera because you kind of need that. Number 5 would probably be my laser grid. I actually got this from a guy and he sold it to me for $10.
Oh, wow.
And I love this thing. And so that would probably be my 5 top pieces of equipment that I would bring.
There you go. See, like I said, I'm a very minimalist when I do in investigating. You know, I'm normally like video camera, recorder. You know, I carry a ghost box with me, an SR or a SB7, but I don't always use it because the static just annoys the hell out of me.
Yeah, I do have a 7. It's not my favorite tool because I feel like realistically anything you capture through the SB7 is left up to interpretation because you could encounter radio interference.
Yes.
So I feel like it's a great tool and it could work, but there's so much gray area there for me that I am not comfortable to say that anything that I get through it would be considered concrete evidence. So I wouldn't be able to include that in an evidence reveal for a client, if that makes sense.
It does. Now shifting here, what is your stance and opinion on the phone apps or the tablet apps that you can download?
So that's actually what my book is based on, as you know. So there are some out there that I think are absolute garbage. However, you do have a few out there that really work well. You have to think about it like this. In the world of the paranormal, we have REM pods, we have motion sensor music boxes, we have all these different devices, right, that work off of sensors. Your phone at any given time has more sensors in it than any device that is on the paranormal market to date. You have touchscreen, you have barometers. If you didn't have a barometer in your phone, for anyone that wants to argue that, then you wouldn't know how many flights of stairs you climbed per day on your little health check app. You have barometers, you have like so many different sensors in your phone. Do I trust them all? No. But if I had to tell you that there was a few that I did trust, it would be the iOvilus app for iPhone. It's only available for iPhone, that one.
Mm-hmm.
The Ghost Hunting Tools app. So when I went to Medfield State Hospital and did a 6-part investigation series with my daughter, where we walked around the whole facility and we investigated the whole facility, we were there for probably 8 hours. I think it was 15 or 17 names that I could actually trace back to people that worked at or died in the asylum.
Oh, wow.
I fully trust the Ghost Hunting Tools app, and that app is available for Android or iPhone. So the other app that I really trust is the Ghost Hunter M2 app. So this one does cost money. I think it costs like $5.99, right? But it has so many tools in it. Like, it is insane the amount of tools you're getting for this. You have an EVP analyzation app. You have a spectrograph. For those who don't know what a spectrograph is, it basically is graphing out the energy within your space outside of 10 feet. It's got a ghost radar. So a lot of people look at the ghost radar and laugh, but you can actually use it as a useful tool. Why? Because carry an actual 35 millimeter or digital camera with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you see a blip on your screen, then use your camera to take pictures in that direction and see if you capture anything. So that actually is the whole point of those apps. It's not to tell you, hey, there's a ghost over here. No, it's detecting some kind of fluctuation that is affecting your mobile device. Take a camera and take pictures in that direction, but don't use your phone camera because now you're disrupting the signal.
Yes.
So always carry an external camera. It's got a barometer in it. It's got something called a lux scope, which I found very interesting. The lux scope actually detects fluctuations of light coming into the lens of your camera.
Interesting.
And if you are if you're in a location, typically we investigate at night. Sometimes we do it during the day, just depends on the situation, right? If
Yep.
you are in a location and it is completely 100% pitch black dark, that Lux scope will always read 0.0. And you're going back through because this app has the capability of tracking every single fluctuation that goes on within the phone. So if you're going back through and you see a fluctuation of, say, 0.5 lumens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lumens, for those of you who don't know, lumens is the velocity or the luminescence of light. If you see a fluctuation, you can go back through and check for that. Because in theory, a lot of people believe that if you capture an actual spirit, it emits its own light. So if you have a fluctuations of lumens in a very dark space, then there's a plausibility that if you capture a spirit or what you think may be a spirit on a camera that is set up as a stationary in that exact point at that exact time, you now have correlation to document.
Very true.
So that's the whole point of this app. The whole point of this app is correlation and documentation. And I love that. And Mike,
there is one app I do use frequently, and it's called EchoVox.
EchoVox, I do have it. I have not yet been able to test it in an investigative standpoint.
I have actually gotten some pretty good responses off the EchoVox because it is an English-based word dictionary or word database. But I've gotten full conversations in German as well as Spanish.
Interesting.
I've heard a dog bark come across it. The EchoVox is pretty much a ghost box without the static.
Right. So I do have the EchoVox, and as a matter of fact, when I start releasing my paranormal app test season 2, I plan on trying to film that sometime maybe mid-September.
Okay.
I'm going to start working on it. EchoVox is the first app on my list. So I'm going to take it across the street to the cemetery because my parents live directly across the street from a cemetery. So
peaceful neighbors.
Absolutely. So I'm going to take it over there and I'm going to test it out and see what the results are. And I'm hoping I get good results because I've heard great things.
I've always been very skeptical about the phone apps and things like that. And, I downloaded, I think at one point they had a free trial because it is a paid app.
Yep.
But they had it's not bad. I think I only paid $15.99 or $19.99 for it.
Yeah. It's like $19.99.
Yeah.
Me personally, I try not to pay over $4 an app, mainly because I'm frugal and I'm a Scrooge. So I'm like, I don't want to spend that money on something if I know it doesn't work.
Well, it was one of those things where my wife and I, we kind of watched some videos on it because my wife's the researcher of the family. So she will go through, look at all the reviews possible, look at everything. And it was kind of one of those, well, let's try it out, and we've gotten some amazing results from it, honestly.
Sweet. So I'm looking forward to my test then.
Yes, you should absolutely be looking forward to your test. I've gotten great results in abandoned buildings, abandoned houses, in prisons, in old restaurants. I've gotten results everywhere.
So I can tell you before my ex kicked me out, hence the reason I'm at my parents' house. I don't want to display that for your viewers or whatever, but it's whatever. I live in a house right now that was built in 1835. And I can tell you right now, this house is haunted by a female and it's got a male. I've seen them both. So I think that I'm going to do my app test here.
There you go.
And then maybe work my way across the street to the cemetery. Just kind of, I'm going to feel it out. I'm going to play it out because I really want to get more in depth with my testing.
You have to have different variables.
Yes. You with any scientific form, you have your test and you have your constant.
Yes.
So melding the two together is what matters, because then you can form your hypothesis on what's going on.
Very, very true. Very true. Um, I had a question in my mind and we went off track here. Hi, Stacy. Thanks for stopping by.
Hello.
Now, what are your thoughts on the because my wife and I got one for Christmas from her brother. But what are your thoughts on the cell phone plug-in thermal cameras?
Ooh, so I have a sad story about that. That was the first time I ever got duped, and I tried to buy one. And well, I got hacked and lost like $500. But
Oof.
it is so my thoughts on it is, what brand did you get? Did you get FLIR? Did you get there's multiple different brands.
It's not a FLIR, but I know it's a decently one, because once we got it for Christmas, when we got home, we actually looked at the reviews on it and there was all high reviews.
Okay, so what I can tell you is, compared to what you would get for an actual thermal camera, their range is very limited. But I can tell you that I think they work decently because I have seen one in action.
Yes.
So I think it's a great investment.
I've used it twice. I've taken it out here because at my house I actually have activity as well. So I mean, there's things constantly happening. And I've used it at the Emory Estate in here in Massachusetts, and I've gotten some pretty good, readings from it. I haven't caught any evidence or anything, but it's just cool to have another utility, I guess you could say.
Right. Well, let's be honest. Thermal evidence is rare to begin with.
Yes.
So the chances of you catching something on a thermal camera within your first, say, 20 times of using it, that's damn near astronomical. It's almost slim to none.
Yes.
But you also, you got to figure in, this is a device that attaches to your phone, which has a battery life. So you're limited to the battery life of the phone as far as how long you want to use it. Whereas if you have an actual thermal camera, you can change out batteries and use it exponentially.
Yes, because it's not only, I mean, when it's the cell phone, it's pulling from other things and draining your battery even quicker, whereas a standalone thermal, that's all the functions that it's being used for.
Yes, and let's be honest, I think me and you can both agree. If you're using a thermal camera for 2 hours, the chances of you catching anything on that thermal camera are going to be exponential.
Yeah, it's very, very, very rare.
So I think it's a great investment if here would be the issue, is you really can't plug in a charging port to said device.
No.
If you could, if they would invent a thermal camera like that where it had an external plug-in on the bottom, so you can charge your phone at the same time you're using it, and you can leave that there as a stationary camera, I think that would be a fucking great idea. Excuse my language. I think that would be a great idea. But you're only limited to the device's battery life, and the device's battery life is the life of battery on your phone. So,
and as we know, spirits do like to drain batteries.
And they don't act on command.
Nope.
So you can try as hard as you want. And I think that's a lot of the misconception that people in the paranormal, especially the new age people, and it's nothing against them. You know what? The paranormal community needs all the people that they can get. But the new age community, when they come in off of watching Ghost Adventures, or they come in off of watching Project Fear. And don't get me wrong, I love Project Fear. I think it's a great show. I think that it's one of my favorite paranormal shows out there.
That's really the only one I watch.
I think it's a great show. I love the way they do it. But the thing is, they come in with the misconception of activity it's not like that.
No.
You can go into a location and sit there for 6 or 7 hours and not have anything happen. I know people, such as myself, when I investigated the Lizzie Borden house, and I slept on the floor in the spot where Mrs. Borden's body was found. I encountered nothing the whole night.
I slept there because when I first moved to Massachusetts, that was my Christmas gift was an overnight stay at Lizzie,
That's
and
a good.
we actually stayed in the bedroom where the mother was found. Um, besides for I slept like a baby.
Yeah.
Uh, but besides for maybe the wife said she felt somebody like standing in the corner staring at her or from one of the doorways, but other than that, I really didn't feel anything threatening or
No,
anything
no.
like that.
So you kind of had the same experience that I had.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about that is, though, is if you travel, I want to say it's 30 minutes outside of Fall River, you're going to come to something known as the Falltown. God damn,
Freetown.
Freetown Fall River State Forest.
Yes.
And there are legends there of a cryptid known as the Pukwudgie.
Yep.
And people have been citing this since Native American times. And I would be so amped up. And not just that, but people don't realize that in 1980.
Uh-oh. A little technical difficulty over here, but we also he brought up the Pukwudgie. Now the Pukwudgie is a Massachusetts state based cryptid, and there have actually been very, very many um experiences actually at the Oliver House in Middleborough, Massachusetts, actually ran by Christy Parrish, and um there have been reportings of fairies and puckwudgies in the backyard. The Oliver House is actually located in uh the Bridgewater Triangle.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Sorry about that. I don't know why, because I told everyone that I had a podcast and I had someone calling me, and I'm like, you fucking retard. But
Well, Damien just made a comment that the spirit finally got you.
negative spirit did not get me. I was having phone calls and I don't know why, because I told everyone that I was unavailable until at least 10 o'clock.
Yep.
But yeah, so the Falltown Free River State Forest, you have the Legend of the Pukwudgie, which I would love nothing more than to go out and sit in that forest overnight. So a lot of people don't realize that in 1981, there was actually a murder that took place in there that was taken place by a cult where they beheaded a woman.
Yep.
So you're aware of that.
I am. Well, because it doesn't fall into the Bridgewater Triangle, but it does fall into the Freetown Forest, which my wife and I have gone out there. And I tell you what, if you do plan on going out there, one, choose a cool day. Two, bring bug spray like crazy because they are vicious out there.
And three, invite you.
Yeah, I'll take a hike.
Dude, because let me tell you, I would love nothing more than to go out there and check the place out. And I have done my research, and I kind of feel like you've gotten to know me enough to know that I do thorough research on my location.
Yes, sir.
And I
need to get you down. I need to get you down to investigate the Harstuff Hall.
Oh, dude, I would love to. I respect Matt Warner. He wrote the foreword for my book, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Matt Warner to death, and I would love nothing more than to come down there and do the Harstuff Hall as well as the House of Hurt and Pain.
Yes.
And
both very, very active places.
And Matt Warner already told me at Harstuff Hall that if I wanted to sleep in the casket overnight, I'm more than welcome.
That attic, choose a fall night because that attic gets sweltering.
I ain't concerned about that. I'm used to Alabama heat.
Oh, there you go. You get that Southern boy in you.
I do. I was raised in Alabama for 22 years. The heat don't bother me.
It's that dry heat.
I just want to sleep in the casket. That's all I want.
You could do that at Wilson Castle too.
You know what? Unfortunately, so I know on our last podcast, I told you that I was going to be a guest at Wilson Castle on September 20th.
Yes.
Plans have changed. I will not be a guest at the Wilson Castle. Here's the thing. I didn't know about the plans changing until I saw the flyer. I was never informed that I was removed from the guest list. So,
no hard feelings or anything towards you.
Whatsoever.
It was, it's one of those things. Hey, George DaCosta, Things are coming out.
George, my brother, I love George to death. Um, like I have no hard feelings towards it. I'm still going to be at the USS Salem on September 21st. So things just kind of got switched up. I just kind of wish that the communication as far as my involvement would have been done differently.
Well, sometimes things, including I've run several events before, and sometimes things get hectic and things change, and there's a slip in there's a crack in the pavement, and things just slip through it, and it was just one of those unfortunate things for you.
No, and I hold no ill will towards the person running the event whatsoever. Things happen. I get it. You know what? They saw a change that might have been better as far as a draw for the location, a draw for the money. Because let's face it, I'm not the most well-known person in the paranormal.
You're making a name for yourself.
I hope to change that someday. But they saw a better opportunity, and I'm not going to fault them for that whatsoever.
George is telling you to come to Gettysburg in September when they do the Warren's Paracon out there.
You know what? I'm still going to try and make it to Gettysburg. I don't know if I'm going to be able to or not, but I'm going to try.
I mean, it's a good time. I mean, I don't know. This is the first time the Warren's Paracon is going to be in Gettysburg. The Bash is coming up here in less than 30 days.
I know. And my whole thing is I am a fan of history.
Oh, God, yeah.
I have never taken a history class. Actually, I thought my history teacher was stalking me for like 5 years. Because every time I switched grades, I had the same history teacher.
Oh, good.
But I never passed his class with less than a 99. I love history. History is my deal. I have a book this thick on Medfield State Hospital. I have all of the physical documents dating back to 1923 until the time that the actual place closed.
Now, this is going to be something interesting because this is the one thing that I told my wife, because normally when we go to the Bash, we're at the Bash constantly, unless we're running out for food, going to dinner or whatever. Like I've been there. This will be my 8th year there. I've seen the battlefields. I've seen Devil's Den. I've seen all these places.
And I haven't, and it's on my bucket list.
But they opened a new museum this past year. And it was actually ranked in, I believe it was either New York Times or Forbes mag. I can't remember which one it was, but as one of the best museums in the country. Because there's actually, which is the reason I want to go to it, is there's actually a room in this museum that you go in and they're projecting images on the wall of what it would be like to live in a house in the Civil War time, where you're actually hearing the gunshots, the cannon fire, like the room vibrates, there's smoke pumped into the room and everything. So you get to experience
I'm not trying to
what it is.
I feel like an idiot right now. I just realized that there was a button that said comments, and I can actually see the comments that are being made.
I was wondering why you weren't calling anything out.
I didn't know there was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
But now I do. Anyways, continue.
No, but that's one thing this year when we go down. That's one thing I said that I definitely want to do because, when you have that kind of an interactive experience, because no one alive today is going to be like, yeah, I was sitting there when, they came over the hill and were charging at us. And, no one's ever going to say I was there when Jenny Wade was shot, So to be able to be immersed in the atmosphere of like, imagine you're a family and you're hiding in your house and you're hearing this gunfire and cannon fire and, the trumpets and the drums playing and everything like that. I think it just immerses you even more into that situation and makes you realize like, wow, these people really went through it.
It does. And let me tell you, I have been to a Civil War battlefield in the past. So down in Alabama, there was a small town called Newton, and they had a major battle that took place during the Civil War. And one of the most common urban legends is the hanging of Reverend Bill Skeeto. So I don't know if you ever heard this story or not.
I've heard mention of it, but I've never really studied up on it or anything.
So I have been to the site. Reverend Bill Skeeto was a guy who went to the Civil War. He was an African American. And when the war took place, 2 years in, his wife took deathly ill. So back then, it was perfectly fine if you could get approval from your commander to have someone come into your place and stead your spot in the war.
Yeah.
He did this, and he went home, and people saw him as a deserter. So Mr. Skeeto was 6'2" tall. They hung him from an oak tree, but his feet were touching the ground. So they dug a hole underneath his feet, and he slowly hung. Rumor is he hung there for almost 40 minutes before he suffocated. And that became known as the hole that never fills. If you go down to Newton, Alabama, and you lay a tent over said hole, you can fill it up. The next morning, you'll wake up and the hole will be empty. And
you'll be sunk into it.
You will be sunk into it.
Interesting.
You cannot find the hole anymore. That's the downfall. The hole was covered up in 1978. The original bridge collapsed. And so they built a new bridge, right? So when people go to find the hole, that sounded very dirty. When people go to find the hole, they look under the new bridge. Negative. Take the trail off to the right of the parking area, and you're going to find an old bridge. You can walk to the end and see it's completely collapsed. You can't go any further after walking about 350 feet. The actual hanging hole is underneath the old bridge, but it's been covered up with rocks. So you can't actually test this theory, but I can tell you that a construction crew that was at the site when the bridge collapsed and they were rebuilding the new bridge, they set up their tent over a hole that they dug out and they refilled. And when they woke up in the morning, the hole was empty and they were in a culvert.
Wow.
And that happened for a week straight.
They didn't think anything of it? They
didn't know the history.
Yeah, fair enough. That reminds me of hidden places and things like that. A place you might be familiar with is Danvers State Hospital.
Oh, yes.
Where the pauper cemetery is. That is set off the beaten path. If you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to find it.
You will never find it.
It took me 3 times. It took me 3 times to find it, and I finally went down there, and it was, I tell you what.
I have not found it yet, and let me tell you, I know you've had Adam Began on your show. Adam can attest. It took me 7 times of trying to find the ocean-born Mary house.
Okay.
Before I finally found it. Because
now,
if you don't know the exact location, the GPS is going to take you to the Historical Society.
Yeah, true. Now, I'll tell you what. I mean, like I said, you're not that far from me, and Danvers is only probably about 45 minutes to an hour away from me.
We will set up a date.
One of these days, you know what? We'll go up. We'll meet up at Danvers. We'll go see the cemetery. We'll head down to Salem. We'll have lunch.
Dude, you ain't got to twist my arm for that.
I mean, sounds like a damn good time.
I would love nothing more than to meet you in person, shake your hand, go to a haunted location, then go have lunch.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. That sounds like a plan to me. And I got to do it soon because, Spirit Halloween's kicking off here soon. And
so maybe within the next few weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I start build for the store July 1st, so about a week and a half away. And then I'm gone for 4 days at Gettysburg at the end of July. And then August is pretty much open, and I'm able, I have a good management team in place, so I can.
But let's schedule up.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll definitely hit it up in August. Yeah, I mean, we'll meet.
We'll see Danvers. If we have time, we'll go to lunch. Maybe I'll take you up a little bit further north, take you to Medfield.
Oh, yeah. Now, I can't do that without the wife. If I go to Medfield without the wife, she'll kill me.
Okay, so that will be a separate trip, and I respect that.
Yeah. All right, so we're coming towards the end of the show here. Tell people where they can find you, what you do, how they can,
Dude, I didn't show you the stuff that I had for you.
No, you didn't. And explain to people what this is.
So when I'm very good friends with the caretaker at Medfield State Hospital, and he allowed me to collect some artifacts from
Now, for
Medfield.
everybody listening, Medfield State Hospital here in Massachusetts was actually where they filmed the film Shutter Island.
Shutter Island, The New Mutants. As a matter of fact, they also filmed a new film there off of Whitey Bulger as well. So it is a very popular. If you've ever seen the horror movie The Box was filmed there as well. So it's a very popular filming site. This is a brick from the cafeteria.
Very nice.
I've got a brick here from. Oh, that's Sibley Scythe Mill. Sorry, not Medfield State. Most of my Medfield State stuff's in here. This is a piece of privacy glass from the Women's Excited ward.
Huh.
This is floor tile from the dining hall at Medfield State.
Wow.
This is tempered privacy glass from the Men's Excited ward. This is that's not Medfield. That's actually chain link from Salem that I found. This is tiling from the Women's Quiet ward. And this is a piece of the fence from what is known as the Men's Overflow. So the Men's Overflow has a lot of speculation. It is the only place on the site that has a red alarm light. It is also the place that people claim a majority of the deaths took place due to maltreatment. Rust, you can have anything in my collection. This one's mine.
Damien just asked, he's like, is that a personal collection or are you having empaths read them for you?
Negative. It's my own personal collection. But you can have anything in my collection besides the piece of the fence. Anything else you want, I'm good with that. And I have other things in here too. Like I have soil from Dracula's castle in Transylvania.
Yep. I'm a big collector of location pieces. Like I have my wife and I, she's big into serial killers, true crime, things like that. So like those little mini things that has like the soil dirt and pieces of things like that. We have places from Dahmer, we have places from Gacy, Bundy, things like that.
Eileen Warnos.
I have a letter written by her.
I almost, and this is going to sound really sick, but I almost bought a card that had a piece of her prison panty swatch.
I honestly, that's somebody bought. Was it? I believe it might have been Zach Baggins. He actually bought Charles Manson's dentures.
Yes, but I was like, I really want this because it belonged to Arlene Weiner, but I don't want a piece of her panties. It's like, this is just weird for me. No.
I think what I have from her is, I think it was one of her, the swatches from her uniform.
So I think what we need to do next time you have me on your cast, if you decide to have me on your cast again, I'm going to bring up this figurine here, which I dug up from the basement. I think we discussed that on their last podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to bring in Ian, my haunted clown.
Oh, okay.
Not many people even know about him. I've not made him public because I'm not doing this to make money.
Well, and you know what? We'll touch on this. We can run over a few minutes, but we'll touch on this. But it seems these days is everybody has a haunted object.
Yep.
Everybody does. It's a haunted doll or whatever. I do have several, and I like to call them, and I agree with Matt Warner. He calls them enchanted items.
Yes.
So I have a 1912 children's funeral parasol.
I own a rug from a funeral home that was a funerary rug that the caskets were laid on.
Oh, nice. Like I have so much in my place that like I have keys from that were actually used at prisons or lunatic asylums that were actual cell keys. we actually just acquired 2 years ago a doll that my friend Jeremy gave me that I haven't really done a lot with it, but it's very interesting. I think it likes to move on its own.
So what I can tell you is this particular clown item that I have, it freaks me out so much that I am actually going to give it to Danny Perez.
Okay. No better person to have it. Danny's a great guy.
Because let me tell you, I respect Danny. I love Danny. And every time I bring this stupid doll into the house, I have nightmares of the clown killing me in my sleep.
And that's one of a lot of people's phobias is clowns.
I don't have a clown phobia.
See, I don't either. I mean, I collect Pennywise things. If I had a clown phobia and collect Pennywise things, I'm kind of messed in the head.
My fear is lawn gnomes.
Lawn gnomes?
I fucking hate lawn gnomes. That's my phobia. Lawn gnomes.
Okay, that's the first I've heard of that, but I mean, I can see it. Those little shits, I mean,
they just have this creepy smile and they steal your shit while you're sleeping. I don't trust them. Like, I don't like lawn gnomes.
That is fair. That is fair.
Clowns don't bother me. And so I want to bring Ian here. And so I have full plans on meeting Danny at a Paracon next month and giving him Ian. Because my mother doesn't want him here. He's been here once and my mother said, get that thing out of my house. And my ex won't let it into the house. The few times that I brought it in, she kicked me out twice. I agree. But every time I brought this clown to the house, like nightmares of this clown luring me into a dark area and brutally murdering me.
Yeah. And
I don't feel like that's a good object to have around.
Probably not the best. I mean,
I think that Danny is going to be the best person to be able to handle that, at least until we can figure out what's going on.
Yes. And Danny will investigate it and he will give you updates and everything as to what's going on with it.
That he's more like a paranormal object loan company. He's like, want it back? You can have it back when you feel like you can handle it. And I love Danny. Like, Danny got me hooked on absinthe. I love Danny. He is one of my best friends.
Danny and Lauren are such a great couple. I mean, I love them to death.
They're amazing people. And I look forward to being able to drop off this object to him. And I think he's going to feel the energy instantly as I did, because I was drawn to it. And typically, as well as I do, in the paranormal field, when you're drawn to an object, you should probably avoid it.
Yeah, but we don't. In the paranormal field, we hear a noise. We don't run away from it. We run towards it.
We don't. Oh, that thing's gone. Let me take that home.
And exactly, right?
And then it's all in the fucking history books.
Oh, Jesus. All right, Nate. So tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, what's coming up for you next, where you're going to be, what you're doing. Just kind of give everybody a quick rundown.
All right. So if you want to find me, you can find me on Facebook at Nate Elwell. You can find me on Instagram at Nate Elwell. You can find me on YouTube at Static Voices. You can find me on TikTok at Static Voices. TikTok is typically where I post a majority of my content. I will be at the USS Salem September 21st. The tickets are very limited. There's 3 teams of 12 people. So if you want to be on my team when you buy your ticket, suggest it, because my team is going in specifically to debunk the claims of the Salem. I think they're $75 a person. So that's not all that bad because we're going to be there for 5 or 6 hours. Yep. I will be as of right now, as far as I know, I will be at the Salem Con Paranormal and Horror Convention on October 20th and 21st. I should be there as a guest speaker as well as a vendor. So if all of that plays out, that's where you can find me. And please, if you follow me on any platform, interact. I don't want you to be a lurker. Just talk, because I'm a down-to-earth guy, and I'm willing to get to know anybody.
That's definitely for sure. That's definitely sure. Well, Nate, I really appreciate you coming on tonight. We spent 35 minutes talking about equipment, which is absolutely amazing because we normally don't cover equipment. So
I don't normally talk about equipment because I'm not a fan of it.
So, but everybody out there listening, June is coming to an end. Not only is it Pride Month, which all my brothers and sisters out there that celebrate Pride, happy for you. Also, June is also Men's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes. And let me tell you, me and you, we've discussed this.
We've had some calls, my friend. We've had some calls. So I am going to, and I'll say this tomorrow as well on my show, but I'm going to be starting a men's group for mental health awareness in men. And we'll meet once a week.
I will be a part.
We'll meet once a week on either like a Skype call or a Zoom call or something. And no judgment, always, judgment free. And it's just talk about anything you want, because face it, as guys, it's easier to talk to another guy than it is a woman, unfortunately. So I will be starting that. So look out for that. But Nate, again, thank you so much for coming on. Brother, you are, as always, a great guest.
There is no need to thank me. I thank you. I thank Get Haunted. I thank all of the sponsors. I am more than happy to come on and chat with you anytime.
Well, that is very, very much appreciated, sir. And as soon as I get done with this, we'll catch up with you here in a little bit.
Sounds good, brother.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, guys. So next week, we have a very special guest. We have George Estep, author, coming on Unturned Pages. This tomorrow, for Compass Curiosities, I have Larry Eisler coming on. And then July 1st on Compass Curiosities, on Monday, July 1st, I have Dee Dee Jabril coming on, and she is going to be doing explaining dream interpretations and maybe possibly doing a couple dream interpretations. So definitely some great shows coming up. So definitely check that out. And once again, you guys are amazing. I couldn't do this without you. Jenny sends her love from ISS. Last time I checked, she was on a roof. So I told her don't jump, but we'll see what happens. But again, guys, so much love to you guys, and keep listening. And thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week.